I do believe we are live. All right. What's up, everybody? I'm Tara Wellman. This is Birdseeds. This is the live version of the show that I normally do called About Last Night. If you've been around this channel for a while, you know very well what that is. It's sort of my pride and joy. I talked a lot about it in a video I put up a couple of days ago explaining why I haven't been doing much or anything in the way of creating content as of late. So this was one of the options to create content more easily, more quickly, and I'm trying this whole live streaming thing with a new camera. It's giving me some warnings, so we'll see what's happening here, and see if I can get this under control. But we will see how this goes. The idea is, hang on, let's see what happens here. The idea is that I can do this when I have a few minutes, talk a little bit about the game, talk a little bit about the team, and I'm not going to have time to do a whole lot of fancy writing or editing or things of that nature in this moment in time. What's up, Victoria? So if you are watching live and you wouldn't mind letting me know that it either looks okay or it looks terrible, I'm getting a weird resolution warning and I don't quite know why at this point, except that my streaming server is doing some weird things, and I want to make sure that it's working okay for all of you. So let's talk about last night. Oh, as always, I do have some coffee with me because I want to, continue the tradition. It is cafecito coffee from Primos, so, check that out. I have a video on that as well if you're interested in that. So let's talk though about the St. Louis Cardinals, who finished off a 4-game series with the Giants, which finished off a sequence of games that was a marathon of baseball. Started off with back-to-back doubleheaders, then a day game, then 3 more games with the Giants in the middle of a division race, right? Who doesn't love that? Well, a lot of people didn't love that, actually. Fortunately, though, for them and for all of us who were watching the Cardinals and hoping for good things in this series, the Cardinals fared pretty well in this 8-game homestand that turned into 6 days. 8 games in 6 days, not really ideal for the sanity of pretty much anyone, but they survived. So they took 3 of 4 from the Red series that all happened in 2 days, and then they took 3 of 4 from the Giants as well last night, winning in very convincing fashion and doing so behind another great start from Dakota Hudson. So if you are watching live and you want to talk about specific things about the series, about where they are in the season, about the standings, they're 2.5 games ahead of the Chicago Cubs at this point. Feel free to just drop that in the chat. And if you're watching this later, well, you can still drop some information or some questions or some comments in the comment section below the video. I would love to know what you think about this run that the Cardinals are on. Do you buy it? Do you believe that this is who this team is? Or is it just a mirage and we're all going to see it come crashing down shortly? I'm pulling up the box score from last night's game just so that I don't give incorrect information. Once again, Tommy Edman playing in right field, which turned into a bit of a thing. And we'll talk about that in a moment. Victoria, you're asking who is starting tonight for the Cardinals. Miles Mikolas starts tonight. Adam Wainwright in game 2 of the series at Pittsburgh, and then Jack Flaherty in the 3rd game of the series with the Pirates. Then it's another off day, which is great because they need to recover from this wild stretch. So it's Miles Mikolas, Adam Wainwright, Jack Flaherty in the series with the Pirates at Pittsburgh. The Pirates are a bit in shambles right now, so that's a series that you feel like, again, the Cardinals should win. This part of the schedule is really interesting at this time of the year for the Cardinals because it's a part of the schedule that could garner them some momentum. It could create a little bit of distance. Yes, Jared, it is Mikolas starting tonight for the Pirates. It could give them a little bit of a cushion, right, in the division. But this is the part of the schedule, whether it's in September or in April, that we've seen the Cardinals sort of struggle with the last couple of years. So I feel like this might be a huge tell as to how much improved the Cardinals are. And I'm not just talking as far as like their talent level. I'm talking about their ability to kind of push through this last stretch and be a different team that creates different results at the end of it. I was really impressed with the mental side of the game for them in this homestand because it could have been so overwhelming. And you really saw everybody just kind of step in and do their job and, not let the schedule determine their productivity or even their energy level, really. It was an impressive feat of mental strength, I think. But yes, start with the Pirates tonight. The Pirates... I love shambles, but can't let their guard down. Yeah, exactly, right? It's the classic trap game in any sport where you feel like, oh, this is a team they basically gave up a month ago. Yes, but they're still playing, and you still have to be better than them on any given night. So the Cardinals have handled the Pirates pretty well the last couple of series. I feel like it's always a bit of an adventure in Pittsburgh. That ballpark does some weird things, and you have some guys who are terrific there, and some guys it's just like their worst nightmare. So we'll see what happens there. But as for the Giants series, again, we saw great pitching for the most part from the Cardinals. The weird Michael Wacha on short rest start on Wednesday that really turned into a bullpen game. We could pick that apart, right? But that's sort of the aftermath of the 4 games in 2 days, back-to-back doubleheaders. There wasn't a great way to go about that game, and it just... They were trying to be really careful with Michael Wacha, but simultaneously trying to, take advantage of the strength of their bullpen and the extra arms that they have now with September call-ups. It made sense. I know there were a lot of people who were pretty upset about the fact that it was Michael Wacha at all. But look, Michael Wacha was terrific in his start in that double header weekend. And he looked as good as I've seen him in a very long time. So it wasn't as if he hadn't earned the opportunity to pitch more. I think it was the short rest thing that bothered a lot of people, but it was always going to be a short start. They said after the fact it was going to be 50 pitches. He only went like 37, I think. So they probably, 38 pitches, something like that. They probably could have gotten another inning out of him. But at the same time, I like Mike Shildt being aggressive and not trying to push it beyond where it's reasonable to push. So then they came back in the last game of the series, like I said, won handily, 10-0. Dakota Hudson with another really strong start. Dakota Hudson and Jack Flaherty as a duo right now are really interesting because these are both guys that faded down the stretch last year. They were in sort of different roles, but they had experience at the major league level last year, pitching in a situation where they were basically playing for their lives in every game, and they all faded. So it's really exciting. It's really interesting. I'm very cautiously optimistic watching Jack Flaherty and Dakota Hudson really sail into kind of the part of the season that became more of a problem for them last year. And to see Jack Flaherty doing what he's doing right now is pretty spectacular. To see Dakota Hudson as like the second best of that is also pretty remarkable, because he's been very, very good as well. He is still a little less efficient, a little less consistent than Jack has been since the start of the second half. But yes, Victoria, like you said, losing 2 games in 6 days when you played 8 games in those 6 days, 6-2 over the homestand, can't be too mad about that for sure. We can, however, talk about Kolten Wong and his weird obsession with bunting. Y'all know I love Kolten Wong. Y'all know that I think that this version of him is, maybe he's not this good all the time, but this is much closer to what I've always thought he was capable of being. The fact that he's the best hitter on the team right now and he keeps trying to bunt for base hits is a little mind-boggling. Now, here's the thing. Someone said on Twitter the other day, the last time that Colton Wong tried this, and it didn't end up working. He was out with the tag on his glove in his back pocket or something like that. But someone on Twitter said that, that ability to sort of drop down a surprise bunt for a base hit and use his speed, catch the defense off guard, that's part of Colton Wong's game. That sort of play is part of his personality as a baseball player. And I totally get that. I totally agree with that. I just think that he's not always the most careful about when to employ that part of his baseball personality, right? When you're the hottest hitter on the team and there's a runner at second base, you don't need to be trying to bunt for a base hit to catch the defense off guard. You need to do what you've been doing since the All-Star break and just hit it over their heads, hit it in a gap, find space in the outfield somewhere to drive in the run. It didn't seem like the timing of that was wise. So yes, I get it. And believe me, for years I've been saying, let Colton be Colton. And if that's part of his game, great. But I think he needs a little bit better of an approach in when to utilize those specific things about his game, whether it's the speed or the element of surprise or the fact that he can make absurd plays that no one else can make. One more thing about Colton Wong before I move on. Someone said the other day something about the number of errors that Colton Wong has at second base. Here's the thing about errors. It's a terrible stat, for one thing, but that's not me going all like hyper sabermetrics. But the thing about a guy like Colton Wong, a guy like anyone in baseball who has that extreme range, who's capable of making the absolutely outrageous plays, is that he'll get to a play to have a chance at it where other guys wouldn't. And then if he doesn't make the play, it becomes an error, right? So if it goes off of his glove because he's ranging so far out into right field that he has no business fielding the play, and then he doesn't make the play, it goes down as an error, but it's also because of the play he's trying to make. So errors are sort of a weird stat because they don't really tell the whole story. It's a little bit like pitchers' wins. They don't really tell you the circumstances surrounding it. So yes, he probably has more errors than the average second baseman, but it's because he's getting to plays, getting to balls that other guys wouldn't get to try to make the play. That's part of the equation with Colton Wong and his defense. Just wanted to throw that out there. Yes, Colton Wong is on fire, and I love that. Who else should we talk about? Paul Goldschmidt had a good game yesterday. Couple of hits, couple of runs driven in. He's not Paul Goldschmidt that we all hope for, but at the same time, the trio, well, really, the four in order of Colton Wong, Paul Goldschmidt, Marcell Ozuna, and Paul DeJong right now is a really scary part of that lineup because any one of them at any given moment could change the game with a single hit. When you add Dexter Fowler in the way that he's been playing at leadoff to the top of that mix, and then you lengthen it out with Yadier Molina playing out of his mind right now, it's a really tough lineup, and that's what we've expected to see all along from this team. It just took a while to get there, and hopefully this isn't just a flash in the pan that's going to fade as they go down the stretch, but this is more like all the pieces coming together at just the right time. That's the hope, right? And a game like yesterday, and even a game like the one the night before where they got down and they came back and then they took the lead and then they got down and then they came back and then they took the lead and then they ended up losing that game. That was a game where you saw the changes to the offense, right? The way that they're able to take better at bats, put the ball in play, move runners over, do those little things that they weren't doing for a lot of the season that made scoring runs so much more difficult. It's weird, right? How better at bats and moving runners over and doing the little things actually make scoring easier. But they still were able to come back and put runs on the board and score a significant number of runs despite the loss. That's a good sign for the offense as well. So whether it's Marcell Ozuna or whether it's Paul DeJong, who is another one that we're probably not talking about enough offensively or defensively, he's still a little bit streaky, a little bit inconsistent, and that sort of hurts the conversation about him, I think. But man, he's becoming a force as well. But when you have all of those guys taking good at bats, it makes it really hard to get through that part of the lineup, and that just hasn't really been the case for much of the season. The other thing I want to mention, good night for Matt Carpenter as well. He went 2 for 3 with 2 walks, scored a run, drove 1 in. There's a lot of conversation about Matt Carpenter right now and whether or not he's really investing as much as he needs to in this team. I struggle with that a little bit because it presumes a lot of information that we just don't have, not being in the clubhouse, not being in the batting cages. Look, the thing that we know about Matt Carpenter, that we've always known about Matt Carpenter, is that you're going to have to look real far to probably find someone that outworks Matt Carpenter in his attempt at preparation. So the idea that he's just not trying hard enough is really absurd, and we should all stop saying that. There's an idea floating around that he's got an attitude problem. I don't know what to make of that. I'm not in the clubhouse. I don't know what the dynamic there is like, but I do know that this team seems to be getting along really well, and to sort of insert something like that into the conversation seems a little bit unfair to what is or isn't going on. And look, he's had a bad year. Of course, he's not going to be the best version of his chipper self. He's never been like this over-the-top personality, so why would you expect that to change now? I don't really know. But he's had a rough year. He might be hanging his head a little more than normal because he's had a really rough year. He didn't expect this. We didn't expect this. I know some people will say that I expected it. Okay, fine. But look, he's got a track record. He's been a guy that's able to come through in the past, and right now he's not. So that weighs on you physically and mentally and emotionally in ways that it's really unfair to start pointing fingers at, I think, at this point of the season when things are going well. And he has been willing to take more of a backseat and to take more of a part-time role and to say, look, I know I'm not where I need to be and I just want to do my part to help this team. I think sometimes we should just let that be and not try to make it a big drama when it doesn't need to be. So nice to see him have a good night. I hope that continues and we start to see him able to contribute in some of those big spots. One, because that just makes this team better, right? But two, because if the Cardinals make the postseason, he's going to be on the roster. And if he's going to be on the roster, he really needs to be a person that is able to contribute. So getting him to that point is worth the 3 starts a week that he's getting right now to try to get him the at-bats to be able to do that. That is all for now, I think, that I have to say about this team holding a 2.5 game lead over the Chicago Cubs, who are playing the Brewers right now. That's an interesting series because either way, it kind of helps the Cardinals position themselves for the postseason. But the Cubs are still a bit of a mess. They will start to gain some momentum and then come crashing back to earth. So I don't really know what to make of them at this point either. The Brewers look like they are just absolutely out of gas as far as the pitching goes, but we will see them before the season ends in a couple of weeks as well. So that's about last night, and then some. It's been more like almost 20 minutes than the 10 or 15 I was planning on, but I got on a roll, and there were things to talk about. It's been a while. So if you're watching this live, thank you for being here. Thanks for the comments and the questions. If you are watching this in the archive, if you're watching it after it posts later, when you have time, when you're not at work in the middle of the day, thank you for watching there. Make sure you give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends if you think they might be interested. And leave a comment below. Do you believe that this team is for real? And if not, why? I'll see you next time.